What is up, you guys? I hope you're doing well. I'm Tony Fuentes, and today's video is going to be about my gear, my basic gear, or what I consider to be the basic package for beginners in photography or videography. Whether you want to be a photographer, a professional photographer and filmmaker, or you're just doing this as a hobby, guys, this is the gear that I consider as basic and will take you from the semi-professional to the professional realm. So let's jump into it. Now, for starters, you need three basic things. First thing is the camera. Then what you're going to edit and export your images and videos, that's going to be your computer. And finally, the lenses. Now you need lenses, a variety of lenses to capture all kinds of scenarios. So let's jump into the camera. So first of all, the camera that I use is the Sony a6500. It's a crop sensor camera from Sony, very light, very compact, very discreet. It helps me to shoot photography and videography when I don't want to be noticed in crowded areas or in the city. It's very discreet. Now this camera is discontinued, but Sony has their bigger and smaller brothers, which are basically the same, have the same specs as this one. Now for specs, it shoots 4K, 24 frames per second, downsample from 6K, so its quality is incredible, it's very sharp. Also, it does full HD at 120 frames per second, which is 4 times slow motion, which is incredible, and it has picture profiles. Now this camera does not shoot RAW for video. It's not a Canon R5 or a Sony a7S III, but it does have picture profiles, which allows you to shoot in a more flat like image, allowing you to have more dynamic range. Now for photography, it's also quite good. It has a 24 megapixel sensor, which is quite good. Basically, any client, if you want to dedicate yourself to photography, won't accept any images below the 24 megapixel count. So it's a quite good resolution. Also, the ability to shoot RAW at 14 bits, it's very good dynamic range on the images, guys. Now this camera does have some drawbacks as well as their bigger and smaller brothers, the a6600, the a6400. And one thing is that this camera has a very small battery. I think the a6600 has a bigger battery, of course. Now this one has a small battery that you have to carry several packs in your backpack during the day. It does run out quite quickly. And also in 4K, it tends to overheat, guys. So that's a bit of a down in this camera. Now, one thing to notice from Sony is that all cameras, whether it be an APC sensor camera or the A9 Mark II, all have the same mount. So with your a6500, you can even buy the big glasses, the G Master glasses from full frame, and use it in your a6500 camera, and then you can transition and change your body for a better model, guys. So that's a very good advantage from Sony. Now before we jump into the lenses, which is a bigger matter altogether, we're going to jump into my computer. Now, as you know, I edit in Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro demands two things in particular, well, maybe three. It demands a high processor, then it demands a good amount of RAM, and also a GPU with high values, guys. Now the computer that I'm using is the HP Omen 15. This is a computer dedicated for gamers and it has very good specs. Now let's jump into them. Now for the processor, this computer has an Intel i7 from the 10th generation with 6 physical cores and 6 logic ones, so a total of 12 threads. That's incredible, working up to 2.6 up to 4.5 gigahertz with turbo boost. So that's a very good processor. It has never failed me. And then it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, expandable to 32. And for the GPU, which is very important in the export times in Premiere Pro, I went with the NVIDIA RTX 2060, working at 6 gigabytes. So that's an incredible computer, a very good combo, guys. Now, particularly if I compare this computer comparing to my previous model that had a 1 gigabyte GPU, the export times on that computer were outrageous. I had to leave it all night exporting, and even so in the morning, the video may not even have finished. In this case, this computer exports roughly videos from 10 to 20 minutes long, under 10 minutes. So that's incredible, guys. It really helps me with my workflow, allowing me to do so much more. Now down to the lenses, guys. For beginners, for intermediates, or for professionals, I always recommend having 3 focal lengths. So the first thing, you want a wide angle lens, a very wide angle lens to capture everything in the scene, whether it be for vlogging, for landscape photography, for architecture photography, or astrophotography. Then you want a lens that's in the middle, a standard lens, whether it be from 25 millimeters to all the way to 50. That's a standard lens or intermediate focal distance. And then you want a telephoto, whether it be a short telephoto like an 85 or a long telephoto all the way up to the 500 or the 600 millimeters. So that's basically what you're looking for. Now for the wide lenses or the wide focal distance, I didn't go with the best quality. I didn't go for the 16 to 35 G Master or the 70 to 28 Tamron. I went with the cheapest option available, and that's the 16 to 50 kit lens from Sony. This lens is for APS-C sensor cameras. It has horrible image quality without the in-camera corrections, but it still does the job, guys. Now I don't vlog a lot, so I went with this one for the small periods of times where I have to vlog. So this one is very good because it has internal stabilization and it's very small as well, very discreet. So this is why I went for this one, also because it's very cheap. But in the future, I will consider going for a much professional lens. Now that's basically because I don't vlog too much and I don't have too much uses for this one. Instead of using this one, I normally use my standard lenses and my telephotos. So for my standard and go-to lens, I went with the Sigma 30mm 1.4 DCTN, which I'm shooting right now. And this lens is widely renowned as the bokeh king. It's incredible. At 1.4 you get a beautiful shallow depth of field, and also you can shoot in low light situations. So this lens is fantastic. It's very compact. Now at 30mm, equivalent to 45mm on APS-C sensor cameras, you cannot use it for vlogging, but you can use it for portrait photography, for landscape photography, and product photography. It really excels in image quality. And for the last focal distance, the telephoto, I went with the Sigma 56mm f1.4 DCTN, this baby right here. And this lens is also very good. It's also from Sigma, very cheap, and with great image quality, guys. This is perfect for portraits. This one is 56mm, equivalent to 85 or 84mm. So it's a perfect focal distance for portraits. You get a very nice bokeh in the back, and also you get some background compression. Now all the portraits that I've taken in my Instagram feed, if you've seen it, is with this lens, guys. Now you probably noticed that these two lenses, the 56 and the 30, are prime lenses. They're not zoom lenses, and I went for those, one, because they're cheaper, then you get a shallower depth of field, and thirdly, because I was a beginner, guys. And for beginners, I wouldn't recommend having a zoom lens, because it's very easy for a beginner with a zoom lens to just sit back, don't move, and just zoom in, zoom out, and take all the pictures from one single spot. With a prime lens, you're obligated to move around to get different shots, guys, to be a bit more creative with your framing and with what you're shooting. So that's why I always recommend prime lenses for beginners, guys. So I went for these lenses. It doesn't mean that you guys have to go for these ones in particular, but I would recommend for you guys to go for a wide angle lens, then a standard, and then a telephoto, so you're prepared for every situation in the field, guys. So that's very important. Now for videography and filmmaking, audio is very important, guys, not so much for photography, but in this case I have two recommended mics. The one that I use here in the studio, that's the Shure MV51, which is great. It's a compressor, so it's very good. And Shure is a widely renowned brand for all kinds of hit records. I think Michael Jackson recorded a lot of his hits with a Shure mic. So this mic is very good. You just plug it into your USB on your computer and you're good to go. And then I have my mic when I'm on a field or where I'm vlogging, and that's the Rode Mic Pro. This little thing right here, and just connects to your mic output on your camera, and also it comes with the SteadCat for reduction of wind noise. So basically that's my gear, guys. That's everything you need to start off, whether it be filmmaking or photography. So all these products are linked down below, guys. I get a small commission if you buy anything through those links, so that's a way you can support me. Anyway, guys, remember that you don't have to buy these products. It's just the way I went, or the path that I took into getting my gear set up, guys. So anyway, if you did like the video, can you please give it a like? It really makes a difference, and consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload the next video. I'm Tony Fuentes. Don't forget to smile. Cheers to all of you, and see you in the next one.